I noticed that the Serpentine belt on my diesel, the PT Cruiser 2.2 CRD Serpentine belt, was looking a little bit old. So gonna do that, and I couldn't find a decent video on YouTube showing how it's to be done. So I'm going to document that now for myself and for other PT Cruiser diesel owners who might want to do this. It doesn't look too complicated. I think the trickiest thing is the access that's in here. So the first thing to do is get access to the belts, which is over here in the front of the right hand side of the car. The Serpentine belt for the 2.2 diesel PT Cruiser motor is here behind this plastic trim. So you will need to most likely remove your under tray if you still have one. I've removed mine because I've been doing the suspension work. It's just a few bolts and it drops down. This side panel over here has two 10mm bolts, one over there and one over here, and then a small 7mm bolt just over there, well, screw that is. It looks like that. Got to remove those so you can get this panel off. Let's drop that off. Just a tiny little screw. Oops. Right, so get that out of the way. That is the camshaft pulley. This is just the lower engine mount, which is pretty easy to replace if you ever need to. It's just these two bolts over here. Pop them off while the engine's still hanging on the top mounts, and you pop a new one in. Pretty straightforward. This is the belt over here that I want to replace. So there's a tensioner just up behind this plate over there, which I've got to get access to with a ring spanner. And then you basically take the tension off the tensioner so that it slackens the belt, and then you just feed it off. So I'm going to try and get the camera in there so you diesel owners can see how it's done, because it is different to the 2 litre and 2.4 petrols. And then the Serpentine belt, funnily enough, is exactly the same on the 2.2 diesel as it is on the 1.6 petrol, which is available in Europe. This is a view from underneath the PT Cruiser diesel. You can see all the pulleys over here with the Serpentine belt. Mine is in very poor condition, shame on me. It's about the only thing that I haven't changed in this car that I can recall in 10 years, which is very naughty. The diesel doesn't have a timing belt, it has a timing chain, so that doesn't need to be changed, unlike the 2 litre and 2.4 petrols. So this Serpentine belt goes around the cam, around various tensioners, air conditioning, power steering pump, and then the alternator, which is way up there. This is the tensioner over here that I need to just slacken off so that I can get the belts off. So let's do that. So I've put a pry bar just underneath the tensioner there, so you can see how this thing moves. Hold the camera steady there. You can see that it moves up and down to keep the tension on the belt. So what you need to do is relieve this tension so you can get the belt off. So let's do that. So up inside the engine bay here, behind the plastic trim piece, this is the tensioner that I leveraged with the pry bar, which flexes outwards to relieve the pressure. But obviously it's designed to put pressure in this direction on the belt. Now just up there, you can just see there's a 14mm nut, screw, bolt, whatever, that you've got to get access to adjust this tensioner, because stupidly this tensioner doesn't have a bolt on it or a fixing on it that you could use just to leverage this up, because that's all you would need to do, is just leverage this up. But of course I can get a pry bar in here and get the old belt off, but then of course I'm going to have a problem putting the new one on, because the pry bar is going to be in the way. So you've got to get access to this 14mm bolt up here. It's not a 13, it doesn't fit wonderfully well. The ring spanner is much better fit. You get a ring spanner up on that 14mm bolt over there. I've got a pry bar running through the open end of the spanner, and I've got it leveraged up against this mounting plate for the power steering pump. If you move the pry bar, you can see it slackens the tensioner. Here's another solution to getting some leverage on that 14mm ring spanner, so that the ring spanner is over the nut over there, and then I've got a 26mm ring spanner, a large ring spanner over the end over there, like that. And then what you can do then is use the leverage of the large ring spanner to take the slack off the tensioner and remove the belt. So hopefully that'll help somebody out. Well, let me show you from top side what's going on over here. That's the 2.2 Mercedes diesel that's in the PT Cruiser, same as the 220 CDI. Down here you'll see there is the top of the belt wrapping around the alternator, and the top of the tensioner, and you can just see, get some angle here for you, the top of the ring spanner around the bolt on the tensioner. So that's what it looks like from the top. And the easiest way to put the Serpentine belt on is to thread it in from the top, hook it around the alternator pulley, and then wangle it onto the pulleys down at the bottom. So we're going to lever the tensioner from the bottom. I've removed the old drive belt. You can see it's pretty past its prime. This should have been changed years ago. Naughty me. And here is the correct replacement. It's a Dayco. That's the part number over there for future reference. And this is the one that you want to pop on. I'm going to feed this in from the top. Regardless of which end I do it from, it's going to be a tight squeeze. I'm just going to push this down, and then it'll hang off the top of the alternator, which is just over here, the top. Go. Alright, put it from the bottom. You can just about see over there in the darkness that the belt is over the top of the alternator. With the belt fed from the top, it's got to run around the pulleys, so it comes around the tensioner, around the crankshaft, back around the water pump pulley, then around the air conditioning pump, and then past the power steering pump up there, and then the alternator up at the top. It's a bit tight, so I won't get a good shot of that just yet. Then to slip the belt over the tensioner, once it's around everything else, it's a good idea to put a little bit of fairy liquid on there, magic stuff. Gives it a little bit of lubrication, and then of course dries up completely, so it's not as if you're going to put any oil or anything on the belt, which will not be a good idea. So this belt, it's got to go around the tensioner there, around the crankshaft pulley, and then it goes up and around the water pump, which is a smooth surface, so the V-drive belt faces inwards around the crankshaft. So that goes up and over there, and then it needs to come around the air conditioning pipe at the bottom here, and then it runs straight up to the alternator at the top. We now have to release the tension on the tensioner so that I can get enough slack over here to get it down over the lower pulley over there, and that should be it. So I'm going to apply a little bit of this fairy liquid to the lower pulley so that it makes it a little bit easier to get the rubber belt to slip over, and the fairy liquid will dry completely. Get my 14mm contraption on here. Oh dear. There we go. There we go. That's better. Gotta compress that. And there you go, it's on. I'm sorry there wasn't enough space for the camera to be in here, but released the tension on the pulley with the 14mm spanner and the extra spanner for the leverage. Pushed that up as far as it could go, which slackened off the tension over there as much as possible, and then with a little bit of, well, I'd say with copious amounts of fairy liquid on the lower pulley, managed to get it over. Once the first little bit's on there and it's over the ridge, it just slides into place quite nicely. So there it is, Serpentine belt fitted to the PT Cruiser 2.2 diesel CRD. Don't forget, put all the trim back where it came from. That way nothing gets lost. Thanks for watching. Hope all PT Cruiser diesel owners have found this useful. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.